Hey everybody, welcome back to Nesson.com's The Spread, Nesson's Football Picks audio podcast. I might have said video last week. I'm Nesson.com's Mike Cole, joined as always by Ricky Doyle and Andre Khatchaturian. Gentlemen, we're back.
Week 2.
Yeah.
Overreaction week.
Yes, exactly. I think some of my picks are going to reflect that this week as well.
I think, so we should again identify our voices.
Yes, exactly,
You're Mike Cole. Mike talks over.
I was just talking.
You can identify us by
I'm Andre
our ugly
Khatchaturian
mugs,
with
so
Armenian accent.
our
And Ricky.
ridiculous voices will have to.
That's you.
This is me. That's you.
Apparently, a couple people had issues with that.
Yes, they want this. Maybe we'll see.
I think it was like a reverse, a backhanded compliment, though.
It was a
Somebody
backhanded
said call
compliment.
us
But
basically ugly.
last year in week 3, we did a birthday celebration for you for your 30th birthday. You brought in a cake.
Yeah.
We did a bachelor party after your wedding.
Controversial.
It was. We can't do that on video.
No, yeah.
We can say that.
I mean, we
I
can
have a
still
cake
have
for you.
it,
But
yeah.
no one will believe.
My birthday is coming up.
Yeah, it is 31st birthday.
Yeah. So.
Week 2. I actually went back to see how we did in week 2 last year to see if we overreacted at all. We were actually pretty good. Both of you guys went 9-7. I went like 8-8. So it was.
Okay. How did we do
don't
week 1
overreact
last
that much.
year? Did you look at that at all?
Well, we did pretty well last year.
You were in first place after the first 2 weeks. You were like
Well, that's a good. That's
19 and 12 or something.
Which is a
There was
perfect
that one
Bills
postponed
game
game, so there was only 31
Right.
games.
It's good to see where some things don't change.
perfect segue into our week 1
Yes.
standings.
And Ricky, you're a great starter. You're 11-4-1. I went 9-6-1. Mike, you went 7-8-1. You can see the graphic on your screen right now.
I tell you what, though. Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, that's your job. So
I think, yeah, right. I have nothing to do with that. All three of us, I think, should be pretty happy with that. I think if you're anywhere near 500 after week 1, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. It's tough. Week 1 is tough, and
Very tough.
I actually felt a lot better going in. I'm surprised I did that poorly. I'm a little bit upset right now, but
That's not poor at all.
I've got a
500 is
chance to get back into it. As always, I guess we should do our little rundown of what we do here. We picked the 3 best games of the week. That's a very subjective term. There's no way to really quantify that, as evidenced by us taking the Rams and the Raiders last
we
week.
knew that. Like,
Yeah,
the
we
second
said
we
it.
identified that.
No,
as a
we even
good
said
game,
that in the pre-show email. I was like, "This is terrible.
Yeah.
We got nothing better."
That was ill-advised.
I did
I
not
don't know where we were going.
One of the picks I did have correct 100% is I did not watch a second of that game, as I stated last week. So I nailed that one. That was my lock of the week. Speaking of that,
What about the baseball field?
It's
just like
I like
how
it.
absurd
I
is
like
this?
it.
2018.
I wish
we
the
still
A's
get
make a
that
deep
going on.
playoff run, so that's
Yeah, right.
half of the season.
They won't have to be.
It impacted at least one
Yeah,
kick.
yeah. They won't have to worry about that for much longer though when they go
I
to
think
Vegas.
the Rams
Football,
were
a guy sliding into second base.
the Rams had their special teams practices at a
They did a softball
stadium,
Yeah.
like a college softball
down in
stadium.
Barry Field in Charlestown.
Well, so we'll do 3 best games of the week. We'll do locks, upsets, then we will get the hell out of here. I think we've done all of the housekeeping. Let's get into it. We will start. Let me pull this up. I think we're starting Sunday afternoon, obviously, considering we're not going to do the Thursday night game. Good Thursday night game this week.
Yeah, I like
it. Bengals, Ravens?
Stomped the
yeah.
Bengals.
We'll see. We'll start.
And we know Ravens fans are listening.
Yeah.
You should at
made
least
that
give a shout out
abundantly
to the
clear.
Ravens.
Yeah,
fans.
the Ravens.
The Ravens will be decent this year, guys.
People, I hate overreacting.
We didn't say anything bad about
No,
them.
we didn't, and that's what pissed me off.
Maybe it
is
was
that
just we didn't touch on them. I
Yeah,
don't know.
but I'm sorry.
And for good reason, because that game sucked.
Yeah,
I think it was pretty
exactly.
evident they were going to blow Buffalo out of the water.
You beat
so.
the piss out of
picked
it.
them as a lock. I think that's why everyone.
Why didn't we?
I know. We talked about.
I picked the
felt so
Jets
good
as my
about
lock,
that.
and I had them in the survivor pool, and obviously not the Jets, the Lions, the Lions.
We talked about the Ravens for Super Contest too, and we talked ourselves out of it. Right? I
Yeah.
talked us out of it just because
That Buffalo
I don't
team.
know, it's Joe Flacco.
That Bills team's going to be bad.
They're gonna be terrible.
I think we might get into that probably in one of our locks.
They should just
I'm
start
sure
Josh
somebody will
Allen
have
forever. But anyway, let's get into it. Sunday afternoon, we're going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Steelers are 5-point favorites. This game's at Heinz Field. Total currently set at 53.5 points. I should have mentioned this early. As always, we're going to use the lines from oddshark.com. They're our friends. Make sure once you're done consuming our content, go check out Oddshark. They've got a great new, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, their new weekly or bi-weekly or whatever the word for 2 times a week is show. Johnny Oddshark is on that. It's a very good show. They have a nice new set. Looks great. So go check them out. I believe they're on YouTube or their Twitter. So big thanks to Oddshark as always. Anyway, Chiefs, Steelers. Steelers 5-point favorites despite tying Cleveland last week in probably the worst football game you'll ever see in terms of just not great football and just ugly weather. Kansas City, meanwhile, went out and laid the hammer down. I don't even know. I don't know where I was going with that.
Laid something.
Beat the. Oh, I was gonna say something else. I was like, you can't really say they laid the pipe, but they whooped on the. They beat the hell out of the Chargers though. Tyreek Hill ran wild all over the place. I don't know. It's going to be nice weather in Pittsburgh. It's going to be really hot across the league this week. That's an interesting thing to know.
Last warmth before fall.
Right, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. But Chiefs-Steelers, 5-point favorites. Ricky, what do you got on this one?
I'm gonna take the Steelers. And just to go back to the whole thing about Tyreek Hill going off, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I thought when he first kind of burst onto the scene that he was going to be nothing more than this, like, gadget-type player. Like, I never envisioned that he would have the sustainability that he has. But to his credit, this is, like, the third year in a row that he's been legit.
When are we going to stop kicking to him?
Well, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
As well.
The Steelers have to be the first ones to do that this week, right? Like,
I mean, overall, this guy, he's got plenty of tools. Like I was looking at the absurd catch rate last year. Obviously, the breakaway speed. That being said, I am going to take the Steelers though, because they've done a pretty good job at containing him in the 3 matchups they've had against him in the past. And you look at Patrick Mahomes, for as good as he was, I'm wondering if there's going to get a point where he's a little over-reliant on Hill. I mean, you look at him, 7 catches for Tyreek Hill last week. Sammy Watkins was the only other receiver with more than 1. He had 3 of them. Travis Kelce didn't really get going. So I just think that, maybe his desire to, try and force the ball to who's obviously his best target at this point could come back to bite him at certain points. And I think that this week might be one of those weeks. Steelers, obviously that was a crap game, as you mentioned. I just can't imagine them playing as bad as they did for the second week in a row, despite there is all the off-field nonsense going on, Le'Veon Bell and everything. Yeah. But I just can't see them committing 6 turnovers or 12 penalties or I think it was like 115 yards or something like that. T.J. Watt was a beast last week. I just think this is lining up perfectly to be a good bounce-back week for them. So I'll take them at home.
Ricky, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Steelers as well. Last year in Week 1, they also struggled against the Browns, 21-18, and they were just fine. I don't think the Le'Veon Bell thing is that much of a concern. James Conner or Connor James?
Yeah.
James Conner?
James Conner.
James Conner. It's difficult when you have 2 first names, so you always forget. But he showed he can hold his own. And also the Chiefs last week against the Chargers. We talked about laying the hammer, pipe, whatever.
Laying the wood.
They allowed Phillip Rivers had his 6th best total yardage game in his career against the Chiefs last week, and despite that loss. So they were able to move the ball, and I could see Ben Roethlisberger doing just the same. He'll be able to. He's not going to turn the Steelers aren't going to turn the ball over 6 times, as you mentioned. There's no Marcus Peters, no Terrence Mitchell.
Maybe
the Chiefs,
no Eric Berry.
Yeah,
that's not
and the Steelers are going to be able to move the ball. And defensively, they're going to bring pressure on Mahomes. Mahomes only completed 55% of his passes in his first game. They're going to make him make rookie mistakes. And last, as you talked about it, Ricky, as well, they were able to limit Tyreek Hill in the last few meetings against them. So, and the last time, Ben Roethlisberger, he had a 5-pick game against the Jaguars last year. Remember that? Yep. The next week, they played the Chiefs. He played a solid game, and they were able to beat the Chiefs. And I see the same thing happening this week in the Berg.
I'm surprised. I thought at least one of us would take the Chiefs here.
This spread is just asking for you.
I know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty sizable.
As of right now, let me just look this up real quick. Where is it?
I do think one thing, though, there's kind of this notion now that you just take James Conner and plug him in.
Yeah.
And you're not going to feel the effects of losing Le'Veon Bell at all. I think that's overblown a little bit.
Maybe.
I mean, he is such I feel like Le'Veon Bell is one of the most unique running backs in the NFL. Just you watch him and it's a whole different style to him between the patient running, his impact out of the backfield. So I think that's going to catch up to him at some point. Like, I don't think this is just like that's just going to go away. Like, all of a sudden James Conner becomes Eric Dickerson. But I do think this week against a pretty questionable run defense on Kansas City, I think he can still do some damage.
Yep. Yeah. I was going to say 82% as of right now, according to Sports Insights. 82% of the bets coming in on this game right now are on Kansas City.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could see a lot of.
So it's one of those things where
you get that
80-20 split. It's usually good to be on the 20 side. going against the public. So, yeah, I will also take the Chiefs for basically the same reasons you guys mentioned. I mean, 541 yards last week for the Chargers. I think Roethlisberger doesn't always he isn't always careful with the ball, but he'll usually take care of it, kind of to what you mentioned the week after. Kansas City playing on the second half of back-to-back road games. They're going across the country. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there. Ricky kind of mentioned this earlier. The Steelers have done a pretty good job against the Chiefs, especially Roethlisberger. Andre mentioned this as well. 6-1 in his career against the Chiefs, so 115.8 passer rating. Roethlisberger, Tomlin said on Tuesday, Roethlisberger is dealing with a minor elbow issue, which is something to keep in mind. I just want to put that out there, but I still, that's not enough to dissuade me. I think Antonio Brown has a big game here, and the Steelers find a comfortable place to land at home. Also worth mentioning, too, the Chiefs played at Los Angeles last week, which was basically a home game for them. This is going to be Pat Mahomes' first real test on the road, I think. I don't really count last week. Going into Heinz Field, a little bit different than going to whatever the hell they call that soccer stadium.
And also, you talk about Roethlisberger's injury. If there's anyone I trust more playing hurt, is Ben Roethlisberger. The guy's tough guy.
It's funny you mention that, because that's a perfect segue into our next game. We're going to take the Minnesota Vikings heading to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. I had to get it in there before you guys started trying to talk over me again, because we had a perfect segue there.
We haven't talked over you at all this season.
I know. Well, except for literally just like 30 seconds ago when I was looking up something, and it was my turn to pick, and Ricky went on for like a minute about I don't know what, just because I was looking up one number, but whatever. It is what it is.
I had to get my James Conner.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about
James Conner thoughts on the record. Okay.
Vikings heading to Lambeau to take on the Packers. I guess we should just talk about that Packers game was one of the that was incredible.
Greatest game in NFL history.
No, I was not going to say that. It's hard to it's a weird spot because you don't want to overstate it because it was week 1, but it's still Jesus Christ. They were getting their asses handed to them, 20-0. Like I was, it was Sunday night. I'm at home, like picking up the house at halftime, just like moping around as a Packers fan, just being like, "That's it." If
all the crap you threw everywhere.
Yeah, no. Just picking up for the week, whatever. And I was like, if this game gets to 27-0 in the first 5 minutes, I'm going to bed. And then all of a sudden, I hear in the background Michelle Tafoya saying Aaron Rodgers is going to give it a go, and it's like, ooh, hey, get a little frisky. I got excited. Again. An outstanding performance from Aaron Rodgers. We still don't know. We're doing this on Tuesday. We don't know for sure what his status is. I imagine he's going to try to play. I don't know.
I would be stunned if he didn't play.
I would too. He told Tafoya after the game that he planned on playing. He said afterwards in the press conference he planned on playing. The Packers predictably mum in terms of his status, which I get. It makes sense. There's no point in saying he's going to play. Keep the Vikings guessing really until Saturday or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we got to pick this game off the assumption that he is playing.
Right, exactly.
Because I think we can all agree that if he's not playing, this could be a long day.
And so here's the thing.
DeShone Kizer is going up against that Minnesota defense.
Yeah. DeShone Kizer, by the way, better than Brett Hundley. I think that's important. He's much better.
All right.
Which is, I'm not saying they're going to win.
It's like saying I'd rather break my arm than break my leg.
I thought DeShone Kizer played okay in his one drive, except for the whole, not throwing the ball away when Khalil Mack was in his face.
Aside from that, he was like Dan Marino.
He moved him down the field there. But the Packers, as it stands right now, 1.5-point favorites. I think if for some reason it comes out tomorrow that Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, I think this goes to Vikings by like 4.5 or 5. I think it's a 6-7 point swing. Yeah. But as it stands right now, Packers 1.5-point favorites. The total kind of low here at 46. Weather sunny, high 70s, which is very un-Wisconsin-like. Minnesota coming off of a pretty decisive victory over the 49ers at home last week in Green Bay, as we mentioned, with a comeback win over the Bears. Minnesota, Trey Waynes, cornerback, he's expected to practice this week. Their secondary is not great. It's been banged up so far to start the season, so that's something to keep in mind if Rodgers does play, and we are operating under that assumption. Andre, who do you have in this one?
We're talking about the team here, the Vikings. That a lot of people have picked to win the Super Bowl. I think including you as well.
Yeah, I haven't been in the Super Bowl. Yeah, did I pick?
And they're underdogs against the Packers, who are very one-dimensional. Anytime you get a full team against a one-dimensional team, I'm going to take the full, complete team like the Vikings. They have.
You emphasize that dimensional.
Yeah, that's what the Packers are. They're one-dimensional, dimensional. What is it? Dimensional or dimensional?
One-dimensional.
Dimensional.
Okay, dimensional.
I like it though.
Vikings. Kirk Cousins. You know, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Dan Marino either. But he's also not Deshaun Kaiser. I like him.
Yeah.
Also, let's not forget how bad the Packers were outplayed in the first half by the Bears. Like the Bears, you know, we kind of like them, but they're the Bears. And in the trenches, I also like the Vikings. They're able to protect their quarterback based on last year's stats. And, you know, their defense is just too nasty. They're going to give me a 1.5. I know it's a road game, but, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't see that here. I was very surprised to see this line.
I think you look at
Rodgers is banged up, too.
the Packers get a ton of love at home, so I think this is basically. I think you give him, 3 is usually the standard, the industry standard. I think you give them 4, 3.5, 4. So I think this line is basically saying that the Vikings are still a field goal better than the Packers on a neutral site, which I think is probably a little low. So I don't know. That kind of tells you where I'm leaning. Ricky, what about you?
Yeah, I'm leaning Vikings in this one. I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers deserves all the credit in the world for that comeback in Week 1, but there were some gifts there.
Yeah.
The Bears secondary especially. I mean, the Kyle Fuller's dropped interception, chief among them. Just handed it to him a little bit. 3 plays of more than 35 yards in the second half. I mean, obviously you can't count on that from this Vikings defense, which might even end up being better this year than it was last year, which is saying something. I mean, it's Sheldon Richardson already, just an absolute monster in the middle. So just look at that defense. Balanced, super talented, really at all 3 layers. Good in the red zone. We touched on that in our preview episode. I think that's why everybody's kind of so high on them. You look at like the red zone and third down, 2 areas where they shore things up pretty well. Yeah. I mean, their attention to detail is really off the charts. So, given I do think there still is some weaknesses in the Green Bay defense. Maybe you get Dalvin Cook the ball in space a little bit. Rely on Adam Thielen, get some yards after the catch. I think that's the way to kind of keep up with them offensively. So, I like the Vikings, especially if I'm getting some points in this, even though they're on the road.
Yeah, I'll stick the Vikings. Packers defense is better than it was last year. I think we saw that at times. I really like those the young guys in the secondary, whether it's Jair Alexander, whether it's Kevin King from last year, Josh Jackson. I think there's some talent in that secondary that they haven't had in a long time. That being said, tackling is still an issue. That was an issue on Sunday night against the Bears. And you just talk about guys who can get in space. Guys, this is a very good yards after the catch team, so I think that plays a role here. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota, I think, is still Minnesota. There's nothing in Week 1 that's going to scare me away from the Vikings. Rodgers can will his team to a victory, sure. I think they're going to need big plays to do it. I just think that Minnesota is much better suited to keep those big plays from happening. And I think you look at the Vikings. The Packers did a nice job of adjusting and taking away the first option for Trubisky, and then he had trouble in that game on Sunday night. I think the Vikings probably a little bit more veteran-laden, better suited to kind of make those adjustments as the game goes on. So I don't think the Packers will be as successful in stopping them. So
nice. Speaking of rivalries.
Yeah, this is another.
Somehow it's a rivalry now.
Another good one. New England Patriots. This is the 4:25 game. The Patriots going on the road to take on the Jaguars. The Patriots, as it stands right now, according to OddsShark, 2-point favorites on the road. It is going to be hotter than Hades. Sunny, mid-90s. I think I was looking at the 92 for kickoff. So it's going to be hot. The pool is going to be jumping. Yes, it is.
Hope nobody's peeing in it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Is that myth? Is that
yeah,
legit?
I think it is.
They don't have that somewhere? That's not a real thing.
Get your tetanus shot and jump in the pool.
It's got to be somewhere.
Patriots, like I said,
Marlins man will be there.
Road favorites at Jacksonville. AFC Championship game rematch. We know the particulars of these two. Leonard Fournette, big injury question, his hamstring. I think Doug Marrone said it's a good part of the hamstring to be injured, whatever that means. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Jeremy Hill on the other side, out for the season, torn ACL. Patriots bringing in every wide receiver bust you've ever heard of.
Every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah, including Corey Coleman and Benny Fowler. So I don't think those guys will be up to speed by Sunday. So a lot of questions here, on both sides. This Patriots, I think this opened as a pick, and it's already up to Patriots as a 2-point favorite. Ricky, where are you with this one?
See, I mean, I know that a lot of people all of a sudden see the Patriots win this past Sunday, and it's like, business as usual, blah, blah, blah. Patriots looking good. Tom Brady with 3 touchdowns. And to his credit, it was great. Week 1 told me a lot more about the Texans than it did the Patriots, I think. I think the Texans have some issues, especially along that offensive line. I don't know. It's still something. I'm still a little concerned about this Patriots offense, and this is obviously about as big a test as you can get.
On the road against a very good defense.
Yeah, so we're going to find out a lot this week. I just look at the box score from this past week. James Devlin had 4 catches.
Yes.
James Devlin had 19 catches on 28 targets in the last 4 years combined. He had 6 catches all of last year. I don't want James Devlin factoring into my aerial attack if I'm the Patriots. And as you mentioned, they're bringing in all these guys. I think it's just kind of grasping at straws a little bit. So I don't know. In the long run, they're the Patriots. They'll be fine. That division sucks. They'll win the division going away, and they'll end up in the AFC Championship. But this week, going up against that defense, which we saw right away. I mean, this Jacksonville really just picked up right where they left off against the Giants. I don't know. I just think it's going to be difficult for the Patriots you can't rely on forcing Rob Gronkowski the ball like they did this past week. I mean, you can do that against a lot of teams, but this isn't one of them. So I like Jacksonville. I'm not calling it a revenge game because like you look at the leading rusher, leading receiver, and second leading receiver for the Patriots in that AFC Championship game, no longer there. So I don't know who you're getting the revenge on, but I think Jacksonville wins this one, and then the Patriots probably rattle off about 6 straight wins after that.
Yeah, it's shocking to me how people, just because Rob Gronkowski is listed as a tight end, people just, say, the Patriots wide receiving core is garbage. Rob Gronkowski might be the best wide receiver in football. He's huge, he's massive, he's going to win the one-on-ones.
But
he can run over everyone.
That said,
he's still there.
Beyond him,
James White, they got running backs. They can incorporate everyone.
They do so much to get bad
Chris
matchups,
Hogan.
too.
I just think 3 guys. That's 3 guys. Most teams don't have 3 guys they can pass to. Patriots have 3 guys I just named off the top of my head. Gronk, Hogan, White. They're going to be fine. I don't care about the receivers. You know what I care about is Bill Belichick when he plays a familiar team. Who does he play all the time? Who do the Patriots play all the time? The Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Texans, the Ravens. They kill all those teams because they play them all the time. They get familiarity and they destroy them. This is the second time in the last 4 games the Pats have played the Jaguars. Belichick's going to be fine. The Patriots are going to be fine. This is the best part. The best part about the Jaguars being a good team is that the Patriots are only a 2-point favorite in this game, and I love that. It's going to be easy money. Thank you, Patriots.
14-3 against the spread last 17-year-old games.
I was going to say.
Ah!
I was going to mention that.
I just help you out.
They're 11-3 since 2016 is what I was going to mention. So
I didn't mean to yell at you either. I was very aggressive. I just fired off.
You got thick skin.
It's an adverse situation, and nobody prepares for adversity better than the Patriots. It just is what it is at this point. I'm also taking the Patriots here as well. Not crazy about it because, like I said, even though they are good with adversity, this is a tough spot. I mean, going to Jacksonville, that crowd, that fan base is good or bad as it may be, or fake as it may be, is going to want a pound of flesh at least on Sunday. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be hotter than hell. A raucous environment, but still, I think the Patriots find a way to get it done for all the reasons that Andre pretty much mentioned. It's just, and again, if Fournette's hurt too, where does the offense come from? Because Blake Bortles didn't look great last week against the Giants. So
that Jacksonville team is identical.
It's the same
identical
thing,
performance,
which makes it easy to make picks and stuff.
119 penalty yards for them last week too. They had to clean that up.
Yikes.
Only the Falcons and Raiders had more.
That was a lot. It was a big theme across the league too. You mentioned the Raiders. The Steelers had a ton too. Sloppy. So it's early.
It is.
All right. Let's hurry through locks and upsets. Let's start with locks and let's start with Andre.
I'll do Chargers -7 as of last night. I don't know what's maybe -14 now because the Bills are terrible. It's still what is it? It's still -7.
Okay.
-7 over the Bills. Look, Bills' offensive line's still bad. They allowed 6 sacks last week. I don't know who the hell is going to start for the Bills. I don't think it matters.
Nathan Peterman had a lower QB rating this past week than he did in that 5-interception game against the Chargers last year.
He had 0.0 pass rating.
Tells you how bad he was this past. It tells you how bad he is in general.
He's just why is he playing? There's no way they should start him. Regardless, there's no way the Chargers aren't going to have any trouble moving the ball against the Bills. They, again, as I mentioned when we were talking about the Chiefs, Rivers 424 passing yards, 6 most of his career. He still has all the weapons. You take away that Tyreek Hill punt return and that dumb missed field goal, it's a tie game between the Chargers and the Chiefs.
Take away that.
Travis Benjamin needs to learn how to catch a football, by the way. He missed a lot of balls. I'm thinking he's not going to drop 4 passes this week against the Bills. This is going to get out of hand really early. I think it's -7 in the first half.
Yeah,
that's how confident I am.
I think that could be a blowout there. But Buffalo's tough at home. By the way, Nathan Peterman had a worse passer rating than Matt Castle, who went 2 for 6 for 14 yards and threw an interception in relief of Matt Stafford. So Peterman, historically bad. Ricky, who'd you lock?
I got the Saints the second week in a row.
I like this,
they
though.
screwed me the past.
You want to talk about
week.
overreaction and stuff.
Yeah.
Both teams kind of trending the opposite ways, where I think people are down on Cleveland or up on Cleveland and down on the Saints.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so maybe I'm just trying to go against the grain a little bit.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
8.5 point favorites at home against Cleveland. We've seen, dating back to last year. I mean, granted, it's tough to look back to last year with the Browns. Obviously, already better than they were last year, but in the talent level, much better than it was. But I do think you can still run on this team. I think they find a way to. I think the Saints offense gets rolling a little bit, finds a way to get Alvin Kamara's a big game in this one. I just like a bounce back effort, especially from that defense, because this is better than it was against Tampa. That's for sure.
Biggest issue for the Seattle Seahawks right now, what is it?
Everything.
Yeah, well, that's true. As I asked the question, it's still protecting Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson sacked 6 times on the road last week against Denver, against a very good Broncos defense. Now, what do they get this week? They get another road game at Chicago. You get the Bears home opener against another very good defense. Just ask Aaron Rodgers' knee how good that defense is. I think Russell Wilson finds himself in a similar situation this week. The Bears are 3-point favorites. I think this has a potential to be a blowout. The 12th man's going to come after me for that one. But Khalil Mack, another week under his belt with that defense and that system, gets his win back a little bit more. Even without him, they looked pretty good defensively.
It's a very bad offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. They
6 sacks
right.
last week.
Yeah. So and again, there's a ton of turmoil with the Seahawks. That story in SI comes out. Then Pete Carroll's throwing Russell Wilson under the bus after the game. A lot of issues for the Seahawks right now. Bad spot for them going to Chicago on Monday night. So let's get into upsets real quick. Ricky, why don't you start it off?
I'll take the Giants, 3-point underdogs against the Cowboys. I kind of look at that game as just a coin flip within the NFC East.
As it always is in the NFC East.
I feel like that's kind of been a theme for several years now. Giants' offense looked much better than it did at any point last year going up against a difficult Jaguars defense like we talked about. Saquon Barkley already showing glimpses of why he was drafted and why so highly and why he's going to be a stud. OBJ not resting on his laurels after the new contract, big game. So I don't know. I like their offense to get things going against Cowboys.
I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Bucks. I love them against the Philadelphia Eagles, not just
really
to cover,
them.
but to win. 3-point underdogs. I have really come around on them. Look,
overreaction.
No, I don't think it's overreaction. I think Eagles beating the Falcons is overreaction. Nick Foles completed just 3.4 yards per pass attempt against the Falcons. Only Nathan Peterman did worse. So I think he's
not
gonna
a company you want to be
Foles, in. No, only I think Foles is gonna have some trouble against Gerald McCoy, Quan Alexander, Grimes, Hargraves, JPP. They're gonna struggle against that defense. I love go look at the Bucks depth chart, you guys. Not you guys, people listening. Go look at the Bucks depth chart. Tell me something you don't like about them on offense and defense. They're a good team. I love it. Ryan Fitzpatrick's a great quarterback too until week 4 when he sits down.
I hope he keeps his job.
I think he's secured his job.
I think they are a better team with him.
He's got the best pass rating in the NFL.
Yeah, you can't bench him.
I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins. They are 3-point road underdogs against the New York Jets. Jets look good. Sam Darnold looked fine, whatever.
Overreaction.
But that's where the overreaction is. They scored, 48 points? How many of those points were because Matt Stafford had his head up his keister and was just chucking and ducking like an idiot? I'll give him credit. I give the Jets credit. I did not see that happening at all. Nice job by them. But learning how to play with success is an important thing for a team like that. I'm not sure they're at that point yet. I think with a rookie quarterback, you're going to have the ups and downs. Like this week is a down, so give me the points. Dolphins coming off hopefully the Dolphins can play this game in less than 7 hours. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Not a whole lot to like about the Dolphins. I just think the Jets come back to earth here.
Looked nice.
Yeah, Tannehill was fine. It was better than anything they got out of Cutler last week. So yeah. Well, there's some good
weapons.
They do. They
can beat the Jets on the road.
Yeah.
We're really trying to combat the overreaction theme, huh?
Yeah.
I've sensed that throughout this show.
Yeah.
Take your overreactions.
So we're gonna look like
light them on fire.
Yeah.
No, just don't overreact. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. The Jaguars still have Blake Bortles. Vikings still have a great defense.
Yep.
Like, just
Don't let one week
A
cloud
lot
your
of,
judgment.
you know, a lot of like, you look in like the fantasy realm, a lot of guys that like you would expect to have big weeks had big weeks. Like,
Yeah.
You know, a lot of receivers and running backs that you'd expect good totals from.
it looks like we agreed on a bunch of stuff this week.
We did.
That's too.
We all think like maybe it's because we've been doing this for so long.
What is that? There's like some
We'll
sort
live
of
together,
theory
we'll die
where
together.
you're around the people the same.
Anyway, this was fun.
Yeah, let's get out of here. This has been the Spread, NESN.com's NFL, or I don't know if I can say NFL, Football Picks audio podcast. We'll be back again next week. We'll see you then. Later.